It's the beginning of November and I'm actually filming my October wrap up. It's almost like I have my life together. Almost. Hello, book friends. It's Alyssa. Welcome back to the channel. Hello, if you are new. I am here to talk about everything I read in October. I just went through my call pile and put in all of my ratings, and it is a remarkably highly rated month. I don't know if I'm just in a very good place, like I'm feeling not judgmental, and that's why everything's rated really highly. Or maybe I really did enjoy everything I read this month. I'm not really sure. So I'm going to scoot on over. We're going to go through my Storygraph stats. We're going to go through my bookly. Same old, same old. You know the drill. Let's jump into it. So I read 14 books in the month of October, and that's 4,549 pages. It's still taking me about a week to finish a book. My moods are dark, shocking, nobody, reflective, mysterious, tense, informative, which is interesting, and then I guess challenging. And yeah, there's some funny in there, which I'm proud of myself for. The pace was mostly medium, nothing really all that fast, which is curious considering how many like short books are actually on this list and how much I liked what I read. I feel like something should have been faster paced, but curious. My page count is predominantly under 300 pages. Weirdly, everything was quite small. I don't know why. No big chunkers this month. Moving on, we are still at about an 80-20 split. We're at 21 nonfiction, 79% fiction. And I have a nice tight group of genres for the month. Literary, horror, of course, because it's October, classics, LGBTQ+, and a couple of short stories. I don't think we do a lot of short story collections. Like, I don't read a lot of them, but I do seem to get in these little gluts where I read a bunch like in one sitting, and then I don't read short story collections for a bit. So here we are. And then my ratings, my average ratings, like I said, are 4.21. What is that about? I had a bunch of 5 stars and like 4.5, like a lot of really good reads, nothing under 3.5. Like that's bonkers in the best way. I didn't have the best October in like a lot of things, but I guess I had a really good October for reading. So that's good, which means it's time to talk about the bookly, all the books. Let's get into the actual books, the nitty gritty. So we'll start our month of reading off here with A Dance to the Music of Time by Anthony Powell. The first movement, this is the first in a quartet that follows, oh gosh, about 300 characters in total from just after, World War One. It's the Roaring Twenties up through into the 60s, I believe. And you get to see how life in Europe and also just like in England itself changes. There's a lot of characters that are representative of real people. There are real political figures, famous people that are also represented throughout. This first movement was really interesting. I had a really good time. It reminded me a lot of Brideshead, but also like mixed with some Bertie Wooster. There was like a playfulness to it that reminded me of those stories. I know that as we descend probably into the second movement and into World War II, it's going to get maybe a little darker, but very curious to continue on with this reading project. It's going to take me a long time to get through all 4 of these because they're each like about 700 or 800 pages. But also there's so much in this that you can go down like so many rabbit holes, and there's so many things that I just like kind of vaguely understood what Powell was referring to. So there's a whole Anthony Powell Society where you can go down and read different articles and explanations and character lists and all of that. I could spend weeks just in this world, but I think I will start the second movement maybe going into 2025. Definitely really interesting so far. Hopefully I can keep in interest in it as we go through the next 3 large chunky installments. I finally read Entangled Life by Merlin Sheldrake, and this is all about like fungi and mushrooms and like kind of an overview of what fungi are and how they're sort of amazing, and also how they're being applied to different things in our lives and how they can be used for different things, not just something to eat, but they can help us with oil spills or even like mapping out roadways, or they're just absolutely remarkable little guys, and I love them, and I love books about fungi because they're just so fascinating. So this is wonderful. And I have, like, you can just see it up there. You can see it just up there, the new illustrated, like, all color beautiful edition that Jesus got me as a gift. It's abridged though. I wish it wasn't, but it's very stunning. It's an absolutely stunning book. It's also a very informative book, and I highly recommend it. Reread The Women Destroyed with Patreon, and I need to film that review and get my thoughts together, but I've been working at 9 to 5, well, not 8, like 8 to 4, because of my back. So I've been on a different sort of, I have a different assignment for right now while my back heals, and I haven't had a moment to myself for a while. I haven't had a moment to myself to even like collect my thoughts and construct a good review of that. And that will be available for like members. There's memberships here on YouTube if that's something you prefer over Patreon, or if you want to subscribe to my Substack and be a paid subscriber. Anywhere that you help me out by, you're actually giving away your money to support the channel, which I this boggles my mind that anybody does that. I'm going to start doing reviews for the books over there, and then in like a year I'll have them be for everybody. So if you would like to see a review of The Woman Destroyed, consider subscribing to any of those paid memberships, or don't. It's fine. It'll be available eventually, I promise. But I loved this. It's 3 stories about women in their middle-aged, going through different sort of parts of life, and none of them are really wholly likable, but you end up somehow empathizing with them by the end in every case. It's phenomenal. Like, even when I wasn't trusting, even when I thought I was going to dislike something, somehow Simone de Beauvoir would like twist things and take me on this journey and turn me somewhere, and suddenly I was right back in love with what I was reading. So definitely worth the read, definitely worth sticking out if you're like, I don't know if I like these stories. Do it. Just do it. Just keep going, because it is going to be worth it. I also read, just for fun, this book, How to Read Literature Like a Professor by Thomas C. Foster. And this is just helping you kind of look at different things like symbolism and all kinds of other stuff, like a little like crash course in comparative literature, literary fiction, like English lit, like that kind of stuff. I don't have an English degree. I just like to read. And so this was kind of interesting to get that little crash course. I think it's definitely a really interesting book to read if you also like don't have a literature degree, or you don't have an English lit degree, you haven't, that's like not where your education like expertise kind of lies, and you want a little bit of that extra hand-holding, coaching, information. I kind of wish this went a little bit more in depth into other areas. This is a little like surface level, but I get it. I get why what it's doing well. It just, I wanted something a little bit more nitty gritty, but there is a really great bibliography in the back, a little like what to read next. So there's a few books that I'm pulling from here to read more of, to get more of this kind of reading, I guess. So you may see more books like this pop up over the months and years, however long I continue to make BookTube videos, just to kind of beef up my ability to read critically and help me make like different kinds of connections and things that, whatever, give me a little bit more robust of a background as a reader, I guess. Anyway, I read The Victorian Chaise Lounge by Margarita Lasky, and this is a little like classic horror novel. Horror, I don't know. It's kind of like a scary story about a woman who, it's post-war. She is like this perfectly coddled, lives a lovely life, and she's just given birth, but she also has tuberculosis, and she can't really do much of anything. She has to just kind of lay around and recoup, and she's tired of laying around in her bedroom, and so they say that she can go down to the living room and sit on this little chaise lounge, this just this kind of ugly Victorian chaise lounge, and she can change her like view. She can relax there. And they do that, and she goes to sleep all like cozy and warm and like just in her happy, scrappy little post war life. And she wakes up and she's stuck in the body of somebody else in Victorian London. And she is also dying of tuberculosis. And she's also stuck there, can't figure out how to get back, can't figure out how to communicate with the other people about what's actually happening to her. It's a very interesting little story. It's uncomfortable, it's unsettled. I really enjoyed it. It was like it's just a really interesting book. And the more I think about it, I the more I enjoy it. Yeah, it was just like it was a nice read. It was just good. I read A Sunny Place for Shady People by Mariana Enriquez, which is translated from Spanish. I loved these stories. I think that they're all very haunting and hard hitting, and I had such a fun time going on little research trails into different things that were either mentioned or that I didn't understand or that I wanted more information on. They're very haunting. I think I said that before. They're very haunting. They're very much about like the ghosts in our lives, the things that we can't shake. A lot about like poverty, crime, women's bodies, violence, Argentine history. I thought they were phenomenal. I think Mariana Enriquez is just an absolutely phenomenal short story writer. I think short stories are hard to write. And write them well, and she doesn't leave you feeling like you want more. I loved these. I highly recommend them. Lacrimore by S.J. Costello. This is a short. I want to call it a horror novel, but I don't think it's listed as one. I don't know what they had it listed as Storygraph. I can't recall, but it wasn't a horror. But anyway, it's incredibly atmospheric. I really enjoyed it. It's just like it's a vibe. And I know that people hate when you say that about books, but it really is. It is well written. It's about these outsiders, these outcasts. It's about death and grief and trying to understand the hereafter. It's weird and dark and uncomfortable and like just damp. It is a total vibe. I really enjoyed myself. And it's super short. You can read it in like a sitting. I loved it. If you just want to just tumble into a very dark, claustrophobic, confusing in a good way read, I would read it. It was good. Lady Audley's Secret. I did a little brief gushing kind of review about this for Victober. I loved this. This is by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. Is it predictable? Yes. Is it a little melodramatic at times? Also, yes. But I thoroughly enjoyed myself. This is a sensationalist novel, kind of like a Wilkie Collins. It's a thriller. It's a Victorian thriller, okay? Yes, it's going to be predictable for us because we have read these stories before, but imagine reading the first like thrillers. These would have been so full of twists and turns. I was having such a good time. It was a vibe. I could not stop reading it. I just needed to know what happened. I needed to know all of Lady Audley's secrets. I needed to know what happened. I needed to know the truth. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I had a rip-roaring good time. It's not stuffy, it's not stodgy. It is good, fun Victorian literature. The Impusium by Olga Tokarczuk. Loved this. I need to read The Magic Mountain to see how they connect, but this was, oh, so good. The way that she just isolates us in these mountains with these men who are dying of tuberculosis and gets us stuck in these conversations that are just so misogynistic. And there was this moment where I heard this one line. I was like, didn't someone famous say that? And then you get to the end of the book, and in her author's note, she's like, every single one of those terrible things that you read, basically, was said by one of these people. And they're all very well-known authors, critics, men in literature, in the world of writing, and just absolutely disgusting things that they have said about women. The story is more than that, but like there's that like punch at the end is so good. And please read this. This was a fantastic, fantastic story. And it's also interesting to read this after reading the How to Read Like a Read Literature Like a Professor, because there is a whole discussion of tuberculosis and how tuberculosis is kind of used a lot in literature, how it was seen like as something sort of almost mysterious or makes you beautiful, or like it's a thing that artists get. There's a whole backstory. There's more to tuberculosis than just being like an illness. I loved this. This was so much fun. And we did this as a big buddy read over on Storygraph with some of my friends. And it was just so fun to be reading along and check in and see everybody's thoughts as I was going through the book. So good. Please read this. This came out like in September. Totally worth reading. I read Little Rot by Akwaeke Emezi. I don't think that Akwaeke Emezi could do any wrong. This is a story about this group of people, specifically in Nigeria, and the corruption and the vice, the way that one or two choices can change the course of somebody's life or a group of people's lives. This is a tough read at times. There are things that happen in it that are like hard to stomach, that you don't want to happen. You can't, it just kind of, the way that Akwaeke Emezi tells the story, it just kind of keeps snowballing on itself, and you keep getting a little bit more information and a little bit more information, and like a little bit more goes wrong and a little bit more goes wrong, and it's just, you just slide into this ending, and it is a heck of a book. The only thing that I'm missing from this is Akwaeke Emezi has this way of writing this very beautifully lyrical, just like you want to write it in your commonplace notebook, phrases, sentences, paragraphs, whole books. I'm looking at you, dear Centurion. I missed that in this. This is a lot more commercial, I feel like, in the way that they're writing it. Like it's like very straightforward. This is a very excellently plotted out novel. It reads almost like a thriller, though it is not a thriller. It has that propulsive nature of it. I thoroughly enjoyed this, but there's going to be things that happen in this that are just hard to stomach. I feel like the things that happen to our characters, our characters really do get kind of brutalized by society and by the corruption in Nigeria. But I loved this book. Loved this book. I feel like is going to be the key theme in these little reviews, the summary of everything I read. I also finished Jane Austen in Crime by Susanna Fullerton, who I believe she's like the director of Australia's Jane Austen Society. This was just fun. It was interesting. It was a good time. It just is looking at crime in Georgian England, what was a crime, how different crimes were treated, what jail was like, how those all kind of intersect with Jane Austen's life, but also with her novels. And a lot of it really keeps harkening back to Mansfield Park, which is interesting. I wish I had read this while I was reading Mansfield, because I think it would have given me more of an appreciation of Mansfield, even though I did already have like a better appreciation of it than I ever thought I would. I think this would have been interesting to read more closely with Mansfield. If you're an Austenite, I would read this. I think it's fun. I also read The Girls by John Bowen. Hilarious, fun, like dark comedic novel about a lesbian couple in a small town in the Cotswolds, and maybe some murder. It's a good time. Just read it. It's wonderful. The Next Best Fling by my friend Gabriella Gamez. One of my friends wrote a romance novel. It's traditionally published by, I think it's Forever. I don't know. I don't know all the romance people. Big deal. Okay. This was lovely. If you want a nice, like, and just like a nice romance, it's got like a little bit of spice. The spice is well done. It's not over the top. It's got a nice story. There's no like weird, cringy things in it. There's no like accidental pregnancies. There's no miscommunications. There's no like just cringy things that happen in romance novels. I just love this. It is well done. It was fun. It was a good time. It was what I needed at the time I was reading it. Highly recommend. Finally, I read Model Home by Rivers Solomon. This is a horror novel about three siblings who have had a really horrible time in this home that they grew up in this all-white neighborhood in Texas. They're an affluent Black family. There's this whole running theme of this house being haunted, and did the house kill their parents? And the haunted house becomes a metaphor for the trauma that the middle child has experienced, and our narrator has experienced, and the siblings have experienced as a result. I think it's so good. I think the River Solomon is just the things they write, the way that they write things, the way they look at the world. I loved this. I think this is phenomenal. Uh, I also just love a haunted story, a horror story that's going to use a haunted house as a framework for a much bigger discussion of trauma and grief and dealing with your inner demons. Absolutely, absolutely loved this. So freaking good. This also just came out recently and this was one of the tea time book club picks. I think this was the October tea time book club pick, actually, specifically, which is Dakota Johnson's celebrity book club thing. And I'm really enjoying the picks that they're doing all year for this little book club that just started. Let's wrap it up. I need to go eat dinner, so we're going to wrap this up. I have carried over quite a few books. I found it very difficult to finish things come the end of the month between starting this new like work role and this temporary work role and my back and all kinds of things. So there are a few things I'm still carrying over. For instance, obviously I'm still carrying over Lies and Sorcery. I did read more. I have one part and an epilogue left. We will get through this. I'm still reading Emma. I'm just shocked I didn't finish this in October, honestly. It's bizarre to me that I didn't. But I don't know what happened, okay? Life has been lifing and it got away from me. I did start Fool's Errand by Robin Hobb. I actually will be finishing that probably tomorrow as of filming, but I'm carrying that over as well. I had been reading Guard Your Daughters by Diana Totten. Finished that the other day, but I did carry that over. And then I did start a collection of short stories, like horror short stories called Dead Relatives. Still reading that. I actually have a lot to wrap up here in the beginning of November. I don't know why I decided to read so many books or to start so many things. I don't know why I thought I could finish them all. Anyway, I don't know what's happening. I seem to have lost a lot of time for actual reading. I'm trying to reclaim it here and there, but November should prove to be an interesting month. That's all I'm going to say. Let me know if you've read any of these. Let me know your thoughts. As usual, if you have any recommendations based on the things that I've read, let me know. Because I'm always looking for more things to read. Not that I need to, because I have too many things to read as it is. But anyway, I appreciate the recommendations. Also, thank you for getting me to 3,000 subs. I keep forgetting that we've hit this mile mark because it's crazy that I'm even at this milestone. But hey, guess what? We have 3,000 people here that are subscribed. Oh my God, say hello. If you are new, all these people came in off the Kindle video. Say hello, 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 welcome. Welcome to this little corner of the internet where I talk about books. I should have said this in the beginning, but thank you. Thank you, everybody. I feel like I should do something to celebrate, but I don't really know what. Let me know if you want to do something. Anyway, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. I'll see you in my next video, whatever it may be, because it's my channel and I can do whatever I want. Bye.